Welcome to Mainland Television Regional News. I'm Graham O'Brien, and coming up in today's bulletin, weather restricts helicopter search in Kahurangi, Spring Explorer is on, over 50s on the track and not over the hill, cruise season figures are just out, and a new Tasman super cave system has been found. A Robson 44 helicopter piloted by Damien Webster of Karamea disappeared over Kahurangi National Park, 25 kilometres west of Motueka about 8 a.m. yesterday. He had been flying the aircraft from Karamea to Nelson with another helicopter for routine maintenance, but never arrived. Up to 4 helicopters were put on standby today due to weather conditions, and 2 land-based search and rescue teams have resumed the search for a helicopter that went missing on Tuesday. Its last known position was around 8 a.m. over steep bush-covered terrain 35 kilometres west of Motueka. The 2 land-based teams set off to focus on a search either side of the Flora River Wednesday morning. A front of bad weather bringing with it rain, strong winds and low cloud hit the area at mid-morning, delaying the air search for a period. No emergency beacon signal has been detected from the missing helicopter, and the search area is based on information from the helicopter's tracking system. The area being searched is around 5 kilometres in each direction from that point. Rescue Coordination Centre New Zealand Search and Rescue Controller Keith Allen said that the search area had been divided into smaller sections for today's search. He said before first light broke that the bush canopy in the area is very thick, and search and rescue hope to be using helicopters to conduct a very low altitude, low speed search of those areas. The teams on the ground will have a view up into the canopy and will also check for signs such as fuel in the river. Before going to air today, news came through that the improving weather in the afternoon has seen 4 helicopters resume the search soon after midday. The helicopters are searching the area around the missing aircraft's last known position, and 2 further search and rescue teams were also sent to search the area early afternoon, placing a total of 4 teams on the ground. Rescue Coordination Centre New Zealand Search and Rescue Controller Greg Johnson said the weather in the area had cleared, allowing their helicopters to operate. This week is the last week of the school holidays, and Sport Tasman has a program which hopes to engage people of all ages, groups and abilities to join in on their Spring Explorer program. We went to Sport Tasman's HQ to talk with Assistant Advisor of Community Sport Sarah Hodgson and Sports Tasman's Rita Merriman about this and other upcoming events.
Next to me is Sarah Hodgson from Sport Tasman. She's going to talk about the Spring Explorer, which is just happening now. Sarah, what is the Spring Explorer?
The Spring Explorer is an exploration challenge trying to get people out and active in our wonderful walkways and reserves. It's a great way, especially to get children out, giving them something to do, friends, family and workmates to get out on the walkways and reserves and shared pathways around Nelson and Tasman region.
So where are the parks and reserves? Is it just Nelson region?
Nelson Tasman region, there's 10 to choose from. We have walkways in Conifer Park that we're doing, Orphanage Stream and Miazu Gardens down Atawai Drive, Nile Street up the Maitai, and it also includes the new walkway in the Waitai River towards Atkinson Street. Where else have we got? We've got Centre of New Zealand, we've got the Tangigi Loop. So there's 10 to choose from, yeah.
What kind of things should people take with them?
All right, so how it works is there is quiz questions along the way. So what you'll need to do is you take your pen to fill out the quiz questions, and the paperwork that you download once you've registered, that will give you all your quiz questions. For longer walks, maybe a little bit of food, definitely water for each walk. And now that it's spring and the sun is out, some sunscreen and definitely your camera. Part of the challenge is you must take a photograph or a selfie of yourself in each walkway.
What walks are easier for people with disabilities?
Okay, our walks range in terrain. That they're all graded when you get your quiz questions and your maps. So we have different grades. There are 2 steep, but the rest of the 8 are relatively easy. Some are off paths, so do check your quiz questions and maps before you start, but definitely Miyazu Gardens and along Atawai Drive, that is all sealed. That's definitely a good one for disabilities. Nice wide paths. Also Orphanage Stream, that's on sealed pathways the whole way as well, and nice wide pathways.
Is there a cost?
No, this is the great thing. It's free. So it's free for all the community, and you don't have to pay a cent.
Where can people find out about that?
People can find out, we've got flyers all around town, Nelson region, but go to www.sporttasman.org.nz, and under events you'll find the Spring Explorer. For those that aren't internet savvy, we do have hard copies of the registration forms and the quiz sheets here at Sports House, and you'll find Sports House at 142 Saxton Road East.
Okay. Next to me is Rita. She's telling us about more upcoming events.
Hi. Yes, we've got some new and exciting events coming up this spring with Sport Tasman. One of them is a Mana Maori triathlon. It's going to be on March the 21st. We're looking to get lots of families participating together and training together, just trying to encourage healthy lifestyles and getting people out of their comfort zones and just trying to do something new. The event's going to be held at Rabbit Island, and bit of a switch to this event. It's not your normal triathlon, so we're going to have the standard running, walking, biking, but instead of swimming we're going to incorporate waka races, which sort of ties in the Maori theme to the event. It's going to be open to children 11 and older, and next year is the Mana Maori event. It's an obstacle race. So obstacle racing is gaining popularity around the world, and it's really just in its infancy in New Zealand. So we really want to expose a lot of Kiwis to this great new activity. It's going to be held at Happy Valley Adventures, and it's a great place to hold this event because there's lots of natural obstacles. There's some water, there's some mud, there's some good natural climbing obstacles. So we'll have a couple different options for people. There's a 6-kilometer course for non-competitive people and for teams, and then there's a 12-kilometer course that will be really for some competitive type people. There'll be anywhere between, well, up to 20 obstacles that people have to try and work their way over. So some of them are about strength, and others are really just about endurance challenges. That event is going to be open to ages 16 plus, and people can either participate on their own or with a team, with their workmates or with their classmates. So yeah, just want to try and get people out into our natural surroundings and just really enjoying being outside. Yeah.
With Nelson Trails and Tracks being accessible to people of all ages, the Motueka Over 50 Plus walking group are doing the region proud with regular day excursions and some overnight trips, making sure our tracks are kept well worn. We caught up with this energetic bunch at the centre of New Zealand last week. New Zealand's cruise ship season continues with the Radiance of the Seas arrival in Wellington this week, marking the start of the 2014-15 cruise season. A report from Cruise New Zealand last week shows cruise ships are expected to make 124 voyages around New Zealand, spending 712 days at ports throughout the country. The company has forecasted contributions of $373.4 million to the New Zealand economy for the 2014-15 period and claims a support for almost 7,000 jobs. Half of the voyages will take place in January and February, and regions like Auckland, Tauranga, Akaroa and Fiordland will have a number of 3-ship days to manage. Winter cruises out of Auckland to the Pacific Islands will extend the season into early June before the round-the-world voyages sail back to Australia in late August. The main cruise ports and emerging cruise destinations like Nelson, Kaikoura and Stewart Island are all expected to reap the cruise sector's spread of wealth throughout New Zealand, says Cruise New Zealand General Manager Raewyn Tan. Places like Whangarei have dry docking facilities for smaller vessels, and luxury cruise lines organise world events here, like the one taking place in Hobbiton in Matamata in February. The economy also benefits from ships reprovisioning when they start and end a voyage in Auckland. Overland excursions to places like Queenstown and overnight stays in selected ports also generate wealth into regional economies. However, the question must be asked, with only one day in Nelson, what are the real benefits to Nelson businesses? How do you come up with those figures?
So we commissioned Market Economics to do it for us. They've been doing that for several years now. And they basically use all the surveys that have been done in the different parts of the cruise region. So, for example, ECRO has done one. COVAC has also done one nationally. So they basically bring together all these different pockets of research.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great.
And yeah, it's hard. Sorry, it's really hard to explain it, but yeah, it's all done by market research, and they kind of use all the different research that they've got access to and create it specifically for the New Zealand environment, so that it's all you can extrapolate it.
Yep. Okay. Thanks very much.
Does that make sense? I'm so sorry. It's so waffly.
No, that's fine. No, it's good. Yeah, no, they're great figures, and we just wanted to just to see where they came from. When the cruise ships come to Nelson this season, what kind of activities are planned for the passengers?
So with cruise ships, there are two ways in which the tours can be sold. So one is with the cruise ship, and that is usually handled by what we call ground handlers. So they're the destination experts that the cruise lines have contracted.
Yeah.
And then there's also the what we call FIT. So they basically find whatever they can find online and book it themselves. So with Nelson, obviously, there's things like your World of Wearable Art, Able Tasman, your wine tasting, beer tastings, your crafts, your arts and crafts culture, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, it's really big, that's for sure. And how can the Nelson businesses get on board with this, with your market, with the market on the cruise ship?
They need to make themselves available they need to make themselves known to the regional tourism organization, Nelson Tasman Tourism.
Yeah.
Just because we work quite closely with them. Ground handlers, when they look to investigate products in the region, their first stop is usually the regional tourism organization. So the RTO needs to be familiar with the product. If it is something that is suitable for selling on board ships by ground handlers, then that's one channel to work via. But then if it's more suitable for the independent passenger, then we say you need to make yourselves known to the local eyesight.
Yeah.
Because passengers off a ship will tend to go to the eyesight to book their own tours for the day.
Yeah. Or
even having a really good web presence. And so to distinguish themselves, we try and advise them to create a web page that has acknowledgement of the cruise ship's arrival and departure times, because as a passenger, you look at that page and see, that if the tour operator acknowledges what time the ship leaves, then I feel assured that, you're not going to leave me behind, that you're going to make sure that I arrive back in time for my ship. Yeah,
sure. We're always worried about that when we're out on some sort of excursion, aren't we? What do you feel would be the real benefit for the Nelson businesses, like on the ground?
What do you mean by real benefit?
Well, the thing is that a lot of the cruise ship comes into Nelson. We're talking about for only one day, a short period, and a lot of the cruise ship visitors seem to get onto tours that actually go out of the Nelson region, such as Tasman, Able Tasman, and the wineries, which are all in the Tasman area. So just trying to keep the passengers in town and to actually to go to our local businesses. We're just wondering what is the real benefit for these businesses in town that we're concerned about.
What we've found with a New Zealand cruise is that passengers tend to use it as a reconnaissance for a later, more in-depth stay. So for this year, we've got access to Market View electronic card data, which basically traces electronic credit card spend.
Yep.
And we've found that passengers do come back after their cruise, and in fact they come back within the calendar year. So for example, a passenger that cruised in the 12-13 season, a high propensity of them would come back in the 2013 year.
Yeah.
And we're talking about figures as much as 40%.
Wow. Well, that's certainly fantastic news for sure.
So for regions like Nelson, I mean, to use Gisborne as one example, for this season, 14-15, they're not getting a single cruise call, but they still have got, our research shows that they've still got some spend from cruise, and that's because of the pre-post. So it's not just passengers coming back for the next visit, but also for those that start or end their voyages in New Zealand, they also have the ability to travel around New Zealand.
Yeah, of course. And
so
of course,
the cruise footprint is beyond that of the actual visit in port on that day.
Yeah, sure. And of course, they're going back and telling all their friends and family how wonderful it was.
Yeah, we hope so.
That research and that data that you're talking about of the credit card transactions, is that available for us per se, so that we could show the businesses, hey, they came here in this year, but look, they've all came back at a later date? Do you make that available?
No, that's for our members only. Sorry.
No, it's just such a good.
It's not. I'm still working through that paper anyway. It's not even finalized.
Yeah.
Yet.
I mean, that's such a good selling point for sure.
Yeah.
Hey Raewyn, that's fantastic. Thanks very much, and thanks for all your work you're doing in promoting Nelson and the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean it's a great region, and I have to give credit to your stakeholders like Nelson Tasman Tourism and Port Nelson. Like, they're just really pro cruise, and they work really well together. Like, they received, I think was it last year, they worked together and produced cruise maps and had cruise ambassadors and provided such a great welcome for the cruise passengers. So Nelson is definitely one of the regions that we're really proud of.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks very much. News from the Bulmar Cave system in Tasman is that a huge super cave system has now been confirmed. Caver Kieran McKay received news on Tuesday from John Terry and Marcus Thomas that the dye he and his team placed in the Grimace stream right at the end of Bulmar had just appeared in Blue Creek Spring on the north side of Mount Owen. Caver Neil Silverwood had done the trace a few years ago and gotten a positive result. However, it was very faint and many people did not believe the result. The trace that has just been done this week was a very definite, strong trace according to Marcus Thomas, so they are all pretty stoked as they believe this proves there is in existence a huge super cave system now sitting under Mount Owen, and the fastest through time of the dye indicates that it should be able to be entered even by mortal cavers. So on to the next huge project, which begins in February next year, when the team, including McKay, will start looking for ways downstream from the Grimace stream. This will start with a dive in the Grimace sump during the summer Bulmar expedition. Mainland News hopes to talk with Kieran McKay next week about this discovery. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.